Welcome to another breakdown video, and it's been a while since I've done a breakdown video, and it's been even longer since I've spoken about the person on this screen. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever done a video specifically on this person, but I have mentioned them in passing. But in case you don't know who this little niglet is, and I hate that I even had to say it, but for him, I will make an exception. This is CJ Pearson. Now, CJ made his first set of rounds a few years ago when he was like a preteen, and everyone was like asking the same question: where are your parents? And this guy is 20 now. This is my first time seeing him in years. He just kind of popped back up, and I'm still asking the same question: where are your parents? This guy is 20 years old. I looked up his bio. He was born in July of 2002, so he just turned 20 a couple months ago. And he's still on that same gravy train. And for the first time on my channel, he has now been entered into the Bed Bucking Hall of Shame, and he's in a breakdown as well. So we killing two birds with one stone with this individual. So in case y'all are unaware, California says that they're proposing that they pay out $220,000 per person for payments of foundational Black Americans. One, I will say that is clearly not enough at all. I wouldn't even say that this is a start. This is just not enough. But we see what direction they're trying to go in, and it has some people upset, such as this CJ Pearson person. Now, I did a little bit of digging too. Now, apparently, this guy is FBA. He was born in Georgia. He's from Georgia. And it's crazy now that I know why he has to go by the name of CJ, because his real name or his full name is Coreco or Corico. It's spelled C-O-R-E-C-O. And the J stands for Jaquan. I kid you not. I guess the conservatives wouldn't want anyone over there with the name Jaquan. That's too ethnic. So that's why he just goes by CJ Pearson. And I'm looking at his bio to the side. Y'all can't see it on Twitter, and the first sentence in his bio says at PragerU personality. That's all that needs to be said right there. Any Black person who was attached to PragerU, when we know everything there is to know about that organization and its founder, cannot be trusted. Point blank, period. Now let's get into what he is babbling about when it comes to this. Now, I know in my breakdown videos, I usually will play the whole video and go back, but for the sake of time, I'm going to start to restructure that a little bit and do the stop and go thing. I'm giving y'all the heads up now, because sometimes trolls like to come into my comment section and say, why can't you just play the whole video? Look, nigga or bitch, that was your heads up. That was your warning. What I'll do is, if I can remember it, I'll post the link to the video in the comments, pin it to the top, and then you can go back and watch it. But I have a feeling that people ain't even going to listen to the warning, or they're not going to check the pinned comment, and they're still going to find a way to complain, because that's just what they want to do. Now, before I actually get this breakdown started, how much you want to bet that he's going to use the same exact talking points that we have all heard these dub SPC individuals use over and over again? I'm willing to bet that he is going to use some or all of those talking points. But let's just go ahead and get started.
Fox News reports that a new California reparations proposal could mean $223,000 per person in payments for Black residents. Guys, when I saw this story, I had to sound off and make one thing crystal clear. I don't want it, and no Black American in California should want it, and no Black American across the country, because they're trying to make this national, should want it either.
So now you think you're the spokesperson for all Black people because you don't want it? Keep in mind, like I said, where this guy's from, he's most likely, and until I can confirm that he isn't as of right now, is FBA. So he would benefit from it. That's what's killing me right now. It's one thing when PC says it, and it's another thing when you got these tethers that say it as well, because they don't stand to benefit from it. But if you do, why are you so against it? Like, I'm trying to figure this out, and I feel like I inch closer and closer to that reasoning as to why FBA people who are like this guy don't want this, especially when it's going to benefit them, but they keep pushing back against it. I feel like I had the answer, but it just continues to escape me. And once I figure it out, unless someone figures it out for me and lets me know their theory, then we can go from there. But it's the weirdest thing. Like literally, this is a debt that is owed to us on the behalf of the harsh treatment, and that's putting it lightly, that our ancestors went through for 400 plus years. Never compensated off of free, harsh labor.
Why? Number one, because no one alive today was a slave, and no one alive today was a slave owner.
There's one talking point. What did I tell you? I said, I bet you who's going to use one of them talking points of no one today alive is a slave and no one today alive is a slave owner. The same could be said for all these other groups who aren't falling into certain categories of what they once was at one point and what they went through, but they're still getting payments. Hell, look at what I'll go even further. Look at what's going on with Ukraine. The government is constantly sending them billions and billions of dollars, and they all the way in another nation. But no one wants to talk about that. But when it comes to black people and what we are owed and what we deserve and what we should be entitled to get, now it's an issue. Like I said, it's one thing when PC says it, but then it's another when a person who stands to benefit from it speaks against it as well. Like I tell you, we're in the twilight zone.
Let's deal with that first. But also, too, because the left does this all the time. They dangle a carrot in front of black Americans' faces and they say, we'll toss you a few dollars, we'll toss you some money, as long as you behave. They're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it in the interest of control.
Let's unpack that. Let me go back a little bit, what he just said.
Was a slave owner. Let's deal with that first. But also, too, because the left does this all the time.
And he used another talking point. He just had to throw in the he had to throw in the left and the right. Whenever they start to do that, I already know what positioning they have as well. He says they dangle a carrot in front of black Americans' faces.
They dangle a carrot in front of black Americans' faces and they say, we'll toss you a few dollars, we'll toss you some money, as long as you behave.
They dangle a carrot in front of black Americans' faces, and they'll say, we'll toss you a few dollars as long as you behave. Again, they never tell this to anybody else. All these other groups continuously get money, but they never tell anybody else. The Asians, they got an anti-hate crime bill just because some people talked about them. Did he say anything about that? Most likely not. Them folks, they constantly are getting compensated in some way, form, or fashion. Does he say anything about them? No. But the minute that black people are owed something, then it's like they have to come up with all these stipulations as to why we should not get it and why we do not deserve it. I swear to God, they are scared of black people in a position of power. That's really what it all boils down to. And see, the thing is, if hypothetically saying black people got in a position of power, these Sambos and Sambets out here like him are going to be in a world of trouble. They will have nowhere to hide. They are literally going to be on an island by themselves, and hopefully it's a sinking one that's below sea level at best. They are scared. When they start talking like this, and when we inch closer and closer to what we are owed and what we deserve, then that's when they start using these talking points because they're scared. This is fear talk right here. They are scared. In the words of Khalid Muhammad, they are scared to goddamn death. So they have to tell them stuff. They have to literally kind of trick themselves into believing that the inevitable can indeed come to pass. And see, they'll try someone out there like him to do their talking, to do their bidding for them. That's why I can't take Dub as seriously, especially when they have people like them use it as a shield. I'm like, if you really feeling like if whatever it is in that moment you feel like saying, just say it. We would rather you be out in the open with yours instead of trying to hide and conceal yourself out of fear that someone's going to expose you. Too late. Many of us already on to you.
They're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it in the interest of control. If you actually want to help black people, how about you help keep their communities safe? When was the last time they've ever tried to do that?
Well, how about this? When we actually get what's owed to us, then we'll be able to do what we can to keep our community safe, because all these other entities that keep coming over and infiltrate and have been for years, it's not working. When we tried to do that back in the 60s and probably even before that, it always got infiltrated every single time. Black Wall Street, when we decided to build our own structures, got destroyed. Many other towns around the establishment got destroyed. Trust me, there are several places and instances in history where that has occurred. The reparations is definitely going to help us in a sense of protection, creating policy, hell, maybe create our own military. I don't know. See, the things that I'm mentioning, that's what they're scared of. They know if we get reparations, they're going to be scared. That's why they always got to throw out the taxes of, oh, if they get reparations, they're going to spend it on this. They're going to spend it on that. They think they know black people as a collective so well. And you want to know why many black people spend the way that they spend? Because they really don't have it all like they claim they do. Granted, we do have a huge consumer base, and they know that. But if we was to get reparations, that consumer base, that $1.1 trillion spending power that they say that we have, will revert right back to where it needs to be. And the economy at large is going to shake and quake and shift into a whole nother direction that they have never seen before. And that too scares them. I'm going to just put it out there like this. Reparations for a foundational black American scares the hell out of the American society, out of the American collective. It scares them. It really does. I don't know if y'all saw it, a little off topic. I don't know if y'all saw it, but they were trying to push something about some reparations or whatever. And it's not even reparations if you really think about it, where they're going to try to include PC people in it as well. I said, I bet you they would jump for joy for that because they're included. I bet you they ain't going to have no pushback on that. And if they did pay out so-called reparations, guess who's going to get the bulk of it? And I'm trying to figure out how in the world do they get reparations? What benefit of it do they have to be deserved? Not deserved, but to receive that. Then they like to throw in the whole thing of indentured servitude. Listen, indentured servitude and chattel slavery is way different from each other. These are two completely different things. They don't even compare. But you know, PC are some of the biggest masters of false comparisons.
Because I can't remember. Reparations isn't going to stop young black children from getting shot in the south side of Chicago.
Oh, there's another talking point. South side Chicago, black on black crime. Another talking point. What did I tell you? I told y'all, if y'all are betting men and women, y'all will win that bet. He's pulling out all the talking points. He said reparations isn't going to stop black on black crime. And so I'm just paraphrasing, in Chicago. It's called proximity crime. It's crazy because it's a lot of groups around here who get benefits, set asides and whatnot, and they have crimes within their community. As a matter of fact, there is the video that I did about the guy a couple weeks ago who was kin to a Holocaust survivor who was still alive, who was threatening to go and shoot up some synagogues. So I got a question for CJ Pearson. They still receive benefits. They still receive things, especially from a nation that should not be paying them anyway, but that's another story. But what's to stop them from doing that? See, they can always toss something onto black people, but we have to know how to toss it back onto them. Because the whole so-called black on black crime thing is just proximity crime. To make it seem like it's only limited to black people is asinine. It is absurd.
Due to decades of incompetent radical leftist leadership, reparations won't do a single thing to solve that. Help black people create businesses and wealth, not dependency.
That's what reparations will do, you fucking idiot. Listen to what he just said.
Thing to solve that. Help black people create businesses and wealth, not dependency.
He said, help black people create businesses and wealth, not dependency. That's what the reparations is going to do. Wealth businesses, and a bunch of other things. See, it's people like CJ Pearson and those like him who would rather see us completely still in the same position that we've always been, because it will, if we ever get into a position where we really step up and step out from under, it puts him in a bad spot. They would have felt like we've done all this bootlicking and all this shucking and jiving for nothing. I'm telling you, these Sambos and these Sambets are just as scared as the asses that they kiss if we get what's ours. And let's just keep a note of this. Let's just hypothetically say that CJ Pearson is FBA. We gonna keep an eye on this one when the checks get cut, and we gonna make sure to keep tabs if he ever stands out somewhere with his hand out. What gets me is when you have people like him who claim that we don't deserve it and we don't need it. We need to stop being dependent and all types of stuff like that. Will be the first ones with their hand out when those checks get cut and pretending like they won't want or need that money. CJ Pearson, what's your take on Brett Favre? This man has millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, but was taking welfare money from one of the poorest states in America, if not the poorest, while one of their cities is going through an immense and intense water crisis. What's your take on that, CJ? Since you have all the answers for black people, what is your stance and your take on that, sir? I'm willing to bet he doesn't have one, because he probably could care less. These buck dancing idiots, these frauding ass grifters will do anything and say anything for a bag and to remain in a perpetual state of delusion, with the thought process that they have somehow made it, that somehow they have overcome, that somehow they have arrived, and they're going to sit up there and try to talk down on us like they are better, and then try to claim in the same breath that they are doing this for the benefit of helping black people. That's the same talking point Candace Owens uses. I'm just trying to help the black community, all while berating us. CJ Pearson is basically doing the same thing. I'm just trying to help black people while berating us and trying to tell us that reparations isn't going to help us, that reparations is just a dependency, that reparations is just a handout, that reparations is nothing more than welfare. And speaking of welfare, you know what's so crazy? You have these PC individuals that have the nerve to say that our reparations was welfare when the welfare program was created for them. And who benefits from welfare the most? Who's stealing and committing most of the welfare fraud in America? The most. Who's the real welfare kings and queens? Since y'all want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Then they'll come at you, well, white people do make up the majority. Okay, then if y'all make up the majority and y'all so much better, then why do you need it? That's why I say, if you want to counter your enemy's talking points, you have to know who your enemy is. That way you can counter them every single time. Just like I had some troll come to my channel one time when I was doing a video talking about Kyrie Irving and how black people need to file divorce papers against Nike because of how they treated them. They tried to leave a comment in there and try to catch me on some slick shit, and I caught them in their own net. They tried to say that black people were some of the biggest consumers of Nike, and I pulled up the stats. In this order, the biggest consumers of Nike, or what, from least to highest, was black people with like 11%, Latinos with 19%, and white people with 54%. When I left that little factoid in the comment section of that post, they never responded back, and I left that like about 3 weeks ago. They could not counter it, because they probably went and Googled it like I did. And if they had did that before, they would have known not to leave that comment. But see, the thing is, you have so many people out here that think so low of black people because of what they see on TV or read in the media or see in music videos and movies and what have you, that they've literally bought into the narrative that PC has put out there about us. And that's dangerous stuff to do. But it's crazy. Imagine if black people were to be in a position where we put out stuff about PC people, would those same people who think that negatively of us still have those same views or not? But see, so many people are so in love and so in bed with Massa and Miss Ann, they might as well become the lint balls that's on the goddamn comforters. And that's exactly what CJ Pearson is. He'll get his wake up call soon, just like everyone else. And like I tell people, these Sambos will get their wake up call from those who asses they kiss the most. And I cannot wait for that to occur.